Over 99% of men remain stuck in weakness. They chase, they explain, they negotiate. And in doing so, they give away their power before the game even begins. Very few ever confront the uncomfortable truth. Influence with women isn't achieved through force. It's built through psychological structure, emotional precision, and intentional leadership. Though Machiavelli never wrote about modern relationships, his deep understanding of power, loyalty, and influence translates directly into the emotional dynamics between men and women. Once you understand these principles, everything shifts. This isn't about manipulation. It's about becoming the man who leads with calm strength. A man whose presence creates safety, trust, and deep investment, without needing to beg, prove, or plead. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to learn could completely change how you see women, power, and your role as a man. Each habit I share will uncover a hidden layer of female psychology that most men never access. But the few who do, they lead quietly and powerfully. Habit 1. Maximize your physical and psychological attractiveness. Power doesn't begin with words. It begins the moment she lays eyes on you. And in that moment, you're not speaking to her rational mind. You're speaking to her primal brain, the part attuned to survival, strength, and safety. Before she even learns your name, she's subconsciously scanning for signals: confidence, stability, dominance, protection, emotional control. These are the traits that make her feel safe, drawn in, and deeply curious about who you are. Machiavelli understood this long before modern psychology gave it language. The wise ruler does not conquer through brute force. He makes resistance irrelevant. The same principle applies to attraction. Your presence alone should make resistance unnecessary. Picture this. You walk into a room, upright posture, composed energy. Your physique reflects discipline. Your grooming is on point. Your face is calm. Your eyes observe, not seek approval. Within seconds, her subconscious is already whispering, "This man is strong. This man is rare." Now layer that with psychological control. No nervous laughter, no over-explaining, just calm stillness. In your silence, her emotions begin to stir. He doesn't need me, and that makes me want him. If you're in a relationship or marriage, this doesn't stop. You keep refining your body. You maintain mystery and stability. You radiate value she's afraid to lose. As Machiavelli might put it, enduring strength is the foundation of lasting peace. And in relationships, peace means minimal resistance to your leadership. So here's your next move. Build and maintain visible strength. Dial in your grooming and style. And most importantly, master emotional stillness and personal authority. Because when you trigger both her primal and emotional brain, her compliance often begins before you even ask. Now let's take it deeper. Once her subconscious leans toward you, the next step is subtle, but powerful. Habit 2. Use micro-commitments to guide her compliance. The human brain naturally resists big, sudden changes, but it accepts small, progressive steps with almost no resistance. Machiavelli knew this well. To win loyalty, a ruler starts small, and only escalates once comfort is secured. Women follow the same psychological rhythm in relationships. They resist domination, but they surrender to momentum. The secret isn't force, it's strategic, repeated agreements. Micro-commitments that condition her to follow your direction over time. Here's how it plays out. If you're single and meet a woman, don't push for big shifts or grand gestures. Instead, start small. Let's meet here instead of there. Each tiny agreement builds trust, rapport, and emotional investment, all moving her deeper into your frame. Let's do this instead tonight. She agrees, easily, no tension, no walls, no resistance. But with every small yes, something deeper happens. Her mind starts to shift. I trust him to lead decisions. Over time, these micro-agreements create emotional conditioning. So when bigger decisions come, moving in together serious commitment, planning the future. Her default response is already set. Follow his lead. If you're in a relationship or married, this still applies. Let's handle finances this way. Let's adjust how much time we give to certain friends. Let's structure our weekends differently. Each agreement, no matter how minor, adds another layer of alignment. And emotional alignment leads to emotional compliance. Machiavelli would call this expanding rule through voluntary habit, not sudden decree. In simple terms, start every new frame with small, easy asks. Establish the pattern. She agrees, you lead. Because once her subconscious gets used to following in the little things, it becomes much harder to resist your lead in the big ones. Now let's advance to the next phase of leadership. Habit 3. Control the rhythm of emotional access. Desire doesn't grow through constant exposure. It grows through intentional rhythm, controlled access. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. What is always available becomes invisible. What is scarce, but reliable, builds obsession. The mistake most men make. They fall into extremes. Some drown her in constant attention, messages, presence, emotional over-availability. Others swing the opposite way, becoming cold, aloof, detached, trying to appear alpha through silence. Both destroy long-term attraction, because real power isn't in smothering or ghosting. It's in mastering rhythm, the dance between presence and space. It lives in rhythm. Let's bring this into your reality. If you're single, and you meet a woman, the chemistry hits, the connection feels electric. You create emotional highs, shared laughter, tension, intrigue. But unlike most men, who cling to momentum, you do something different. You control the tempo. You disappear briefly. You respond on your schedule. When you're with her, you're fully present, locked in. But you don't drag conversations endlessly just to keep her attention. And in that space, uncertainty begins to stir. That question in her mind, where is he? Why am I thinking about him? That's not rejection. That's emotional ignition. Obsession begins, not in closeness, but in well-timed distance. Now, if you're in a relationship or married, this principle still holds. You maintain your own project. You carve out solo focus time, pursue personal growth, and stay invested in independent goals. You give love and affection, but never collapse your world into hers. She feels close to you, yet never completely sure she has all of you. And that subtle incompleteness, that's what keeps her emotionally engaged. Machiavelli would call this preserving loyalty by avoiding total comfort, because comfort kills tension, and tension, properly managed, is the fuel of sustained desire. Here's your next move. Manage emotional access, like a temperature dial. Offer warmth when she invests, then pull back just slightly to reintroduce tension. Master this rhythm, and her emotional investment will grow organically, not through force, not through neediness, but through calibrated imbalance. Now let's move forward, because once you've activated her emotional brain, the next move is to bypass resistance entirely, by speaking directly to the deepest part of her. Habit 4. Speak to her self-image, not just her logic. Most men try to persuade women with facts, arguments, or reason. They attempt to convince her, and that's where they fail, before the conversation even begins. Because women don't follow logic. They follow what protects or enhances their identity. Machiavelli captured this truth perfectly. When pride aligns with obedience, surrender feels like self-preservation. Every woman has a self-image, a private internal story she tells herself every day. I'm strong. I'm independent. I'm emotionally intelligent. And your power? It lies in learning how to speak to that version of her, not challenge it, but reflect it. As a man, your power isn't in attacking her narrative, it's in aligning your leadership with it, so that following you feels like a confirmation of who she already believes she is. Let's bring this to life. If you're single, and you want her to cancel plans that interfere with your priorities, the average man reacts emotionally. You're always out with your friends. You need to stop. That instantly triggers resistance. Why? Because it threatens her identity. But the strategic man reframes. One thing I respect about you is how loyal you are to the people you care about. That's exactly why I know you'll understand how important it is to protect this time between us. Now, compliance, loyalty. One of her core values. Her mind processes, following him proves my loyalty. This aligns with who I am. You didn't challenge her identity. You aligned with it. And that's why the resistance never even had a chance to form. Now, if you're in a relationship or marriage, this goes even deeper. Say it's about finances. Because you're so thoughtful when it comes to security. I know you'll see how this financial move strengthens both of us. Or with parenting. Because I know how deeply you care about creating stability for the kids. This is the decision that protects them long term. Every decision becomes smoother, not because she's weaker, but because her self-respect is now linked to following your leadership. Machiavelli would describe this as strengthening power through voluntary identity alignment. Here's your next tactical step. Study her self-image relentlessly. Find what she values most about herself, and attach your leadership to those traits. Let her feel that following you isn't submission, it's self-expression. Because when compliance identity resistance dissolves before it ever appears. Now let's move forward. Because even when your framing is perfect, your true power doesn't lie in words. It lies in knowing when to act. Habit 5. Master timing. Strike only when emotional windows open. Even the strongest frame collapses under poor timing. And timing? That's pure power. Machiavelli put it simply. Fortune is like a woman. She favors the bold who strike at the right moment. Women live in emotional cycles, a natural rhythm that moves between openness and resistance, warmth and withdrawal, trust and suspicion. The average man pushes blindly. He forces decisions in the middle of tension. He argues when emotions are closed, and he's met with resistance. Every single time. But the strategic man is different. He reads her emotional weather. He observes, waits, and only moves when the skies are clear. Let's bring this to life. You're single. You've been seeing her for a few weeks. There's something you want her to adjust. Maybe how she splits her attention between you and her social life. But instead of reacting impulsively, you wait. Today she's affectionate. Her guard is down. Her trust is high. That's your window. You say, because of how strong our connection's been lately. I know you'll understand why this small adjustment makes sense for both of us. She agrees, effortlessly. Had you pushed 2 days earlier, during tension, or mood swings, you would have triggered unnecessary resistance. Why? Because when emotions are closed, logic can't get in. Now, if you're in a relationship or married, timing becomes even more critical. Every serious conversation about finances, career moves, parenting, family boundaries must happen during moments of emotional relaxation and high trust, not during stress, not during disconnection. Only when the bond is strong and her nervous system is calm. Machiavelli would call this ruling without resistance, by striking at peak alignment. So here's your next tactical shift. Observe her state constantly. Her face, tone, and energy will tell you everything. Make bold moves only when emotional weather is clear. Withdraw when resistance rises. Let the storm pass. Because when you master timing, even difficult requests feel natural, and surrender becomes her idea, not your demand. Now let's advance. Because even perfect timing means nothing if your delivery triggers fear or defensiveness. The next level of leadership is knowing how to present your direction in a way that preserves safety and protects connection. Habit 6. Negotiate like a diplomat. Make compliance feel like a shared victory. True power doesn't rely on domination. It thrives on diplomacy, the kind that maintains your authority while making her feel emotionally secure. Machiavelli warned us centuries ago. Harsh rule invites rebellion. The wise ruler lets others feel they share the power they obey. Most men get this wrong. They try to force compliance. They issue commands. They demand immediate change. And even when she goes along with it, resentment quietly grows beneath the surface. But the Machiavellian man, he moves differently. He creates the illusion of shared authorship, the feeling that this decision, this change was something you both arrived at together. He frames his leadership as mutual growth, so that compliance feels like her own empowered decision. Let's bring this into your world. You're single. You want her to reduce how often she travels alone with her friends. The average man confronts directly. You need to stop this. I don't like it. Instantly, walls go up. Instead, you say, I trust you. And because I trust what we're building, I know you'll see how protecting our time together makes both of us stronger. She agrees, not out of pressure, but because you allowed her to feel responsible for the decision. You gave her ownership. If you're in a relationship or married, this method becomes even more powerful. Because we're both working toward long-term financial security, here's a structure that protects both of us. Or because you care so deeply about the kids' stability, here's what ensures the strongest foundation for them. In every case, you're not demanding obedience. You're inviting collaboration, while quietly steering the direction behind the scenes. Machiavelli would describe this as creating voluntary investment into decisions the ruler has already designed. In short, always present your leadership as an upgrade for both of you. Frame your direction as mutual protection of your shared future. Let her feel empowered in following your lead. Because when a woman emotionally invests in a decision, she no longer resists it. She protects it. Now let's move forward. Because even once you've secured her compliance, there's one final principle that sustains your influence long-term and makes your leadership feel irreplaceable. You don't brag about it. You don't explain it. You don't even name it. But she sees it. Always remember this. Women see, but they don't always speak about what they notice. And her emotional brain whispers, this man doesn't crave my validation. He's ascended. I need to secure my place beside him. If you're in a relationship, you're still building financially, mentally, physically. While other men plateau, you expand. While others decay, you evolve. You lead socially. You command quiet respect in your environment. You handle conflict with emotional control while other men react and unravel. Habit 7. Build leverage through subtle scarcity. There's a core truth in female psychology most men never fully absorb. A woman surrenders most easily to the man she fears losing, not because he threatens her, but because his value continues to rise. Machiavelli captured it perfectly. Men admire what is rare and difficult to obtain. You don't need ultimatums, you don't need drama. You simply become increasingly rare. Because as your value compounds through discipline, ambition, social influence, and emotional mastery, her subconscious begins to whisper, replacing him would cost me everything I've already invested. Let's bring this to life. If you're single, your focus is crystal clear, your career accelerates, your social circle strengthens, your reputation rises, not through noise but through consistency. Other women notice your presence. They notice your discipline, your grounded nature, your quiet dominance, and she sees it all. This slow, visible evolution doesn't spark insecurity. It creates respect. It fosters emotional security through alignment with a man who keeps rising. Machiavelli would call this strengthening rule by becoming the safest, most rewarding investment for those who follow. In short, relentlessly elevate every pillar of your life, your appearance, your financial power, your influence, your emotional control, your discipline. Let your growth speak without words. Let your lifestyle evolve in ways that silently expose your direction, not for applause but for evidence. Because when a woman feels that she's aligned with a man whose value keeps multiplying, her compliance isn't submission, it's self-protection. Here's what you must remember. Most men chase approval. They over-explain. They justify. They drain themselves trying to earn what should naturally be pulled into their orbit. But the rare man, the man who understands power, doesn't chase. He doesn't beg. And he doesn't dominate with noise. He creates gravity. a silent force that pulls without pressure, a presence that demands nothing, yet makes surrender feel like the only option. While others drown in emotional chaos, he stays anchored. While others collapse into argument, he says little and leads much. But while others move frantically, he moves precisely. While others negotiate their worth, he radiates it through every decision. Because true leadership isn't loud, it's stable, it's unshakable, it's undeniable. And when a woman feels that kind of stability, when she senses that being with you elevates her, and that losing you would cost her everything, the game shifts forever. You no longer ask, you no longer negotiate, you receive, because you've become the man she cannot afford to lose. If this opened your eyes, if you're serious about becoming the kind of man who lives in full control of his reality, my book is now available, The Undeniable Man, Built to be Chosen. It's a strategic guide for men who want to attract, lead, and dominate in their love life and beyond. Whether you're single or in a relationship, this isn't fluff, no tricks, just clear, powerful principles you'll actually use every day. The link is in the description. And if this message resonated with you, don't keep it locked in your mind. Drop a comment, even just a few words. It'll help anchor the lesson for you, and it might just shift something for someone else reading. Hit the like button if this spoke to you, and share it with someone you know is ready for this level. Someone who needs it now. Trust your instinct. We're all trying to become more grounded, more solid inside. So let's build minds that don't break, and men who don't fold.